Hello, everybody from the Furry Writers Guild. I am your musical host, panelist of the weekend, I guess. The only music panel. I think that's correct. But also the music in between the panels. I am everywhere. I was going to say I'm ominous, but that's not the right word. So we're off to a great start on a panel about lyric writing because I don't know what words to use. But to those who saw my tweet earlier today, yeah, this is the first time I've done anything about constructing music or anything like that, really outside of my Patreon, since 2017 when I did my very first panel at my home convention, which was just like a giant, like general panel about how to make pop music, which I don't know if it's the most generous of terms necessarily. Uh, Pop music gets a bad rap, especially in the modern day sense. I don't make any qualms about that I write pop music, but the description can be limiting. But I imagine anybody who defines themselves by genre would agree that when you're doing that, it's limiting. You're describing yourself with like one word, and then people make all their assumptions based off of their conception of the word, you know? So it's pretty difficult. Omnipresent, thank you, Crimson. I'm slow to this. This is also my second thing I've done on Twitch so far, despite being in quarantine for something like 8 months now. I did a concert last Friday for Confuror in Mexico, and now this is the second thing I've done. So up till this point, I'm still very much new to this. I also will throw it to the chat because I imagine many of you have been listening to my music throughout the course of the day. If there's a specific song of mine that you would like me to dissect in front of you all and explain some of the lyrics and stuff that I worked in there, I'm more than happy to do that. But understanding the more freeform nature of this event, and as I was told, I don't have like PowerPoint presentations prepared. I'm not here to bore you with impersonal slides. I'm here to be as honest as possible, to be as genuine with what I have to say and how it relates to writing music. Now, I imagine most of you, being that this is an event run by the Furry Writers Guild, are at least in some way versed in writing of some kind, whether it's poetry or books or short stories, I guess, fiction, perhaps nonfiction. Like, there's a good chance that many of you actively construct cohesive sentences and you're cool with it. And that's a really good first step if you're wanting to put that to music. A lot of the time, people tend to panic when they're writing song lyrics and they sort of default to what I sometimes call like greeting card lyrics, where it's really basic, impersonal, unmemorable platitudes of just like, I love you, or oh, I miss this person, I miss this girl, oh, I need this. And it's not all that interesting. And I'm sure many of you that listen to music can identify those things. And you probably have favorite songs that you like that go against that and are a little bit more detailed. I pulled up some song examples of lyrics that I could poke apart here, but I also would like to continue to talk about how I write my lyrics as well. I can't speak to any other musician's process, of course. This is just my own. It's hard to capture lightning in a bottle sometimes with songs. Sometimes you can write a song in 10 minutes, in under 10 minutes, if you're just sitting at the piano and you crank something out and you're like, wow, this is good. But sometimes it doesn't take that long. Sometimes it takes far, far longer. I have songs. The longest song that I wrote on my album was We're Magic, and that took probably about 4 years to write, just gradually over the time, chipping away at it. What happens with me when I'm writing music is I generally start with a concept. I either start with one of three things, like a concept, a hook, or a title. It seems weird to start with a title, but when you're actively looking for unique angles to write about things, it does help to sort of zoom it out all the way and work based off of a title. And what do I mean by that? Well, I simply point you to, I have a very handy physical prop here. I simply would point you to like the songs on my actual album, where right on the back there's nothing like I love you. There's nothing like don't give up, let's go, keep going, rise up. You know, these really generic song titles with really zero personality. Like, how many songs are called I Love You? And sure, there's an argument to be made for going against the grain and flipping that on its head. But if you're going with a title like that, uh, you fall under all the predispositions people have for stuff like that. So right on my album, the first song is anonymous. Then there's songs like Double Take, Borders, Splendor, The Girl Who Invented Love. These are like, to me anyway, these are titles that catch my eye. And I am more interested to know what a song called You Don't Belong in This World sounds like than I am interested to know what a song called I Love You sounds like. Like, maybe that's me and my own Ace experience, perhaps. But I think on a fundamental level, it's the ambiguity behind some titles can be really, really enhancing. That's something I personally like to do a lot. Is I don't like to feed the entire piece of information right away, whether it's in the title or in the course of the song. So the song title "You Don't Belong in This World," for example, what is that about? You know, it's not an answer. You don't really relate to that in a surface level. You don't belong in this world, right? Like, it arises so many questions. See some questions in the chat. Do you already have music/melody to work with when you start writing your lyrics, or does the music come after for you? It's a good question. It depends on the song. I can probably even say, like, from my album, what started as what. Anonymous started as the guitar. Double Take started as the opening line, so that started with the words and the melody. Borders started with the instrumental that I worked on. Splendor started with the lyrics. I almost think you can tell when I open the song with lyrics right away and there's no instrumental break before it, is it starts like that. Maybe it's a little secret of mine. I'm not sure. It's weird how sometimes ideas can strike at the weirdest possible times. Like Da Vinci, the closing song on my album, I wrote while I was in school for administration, and I wasn't doing a great job. I mean, I was doing well in the classes, but I wasn't having a good time. It was like every day I needed a mental health day because I wasn't doing well in that class. And I was like going down the stairs in the campus one day, and I was just like, this sucks. I should write a song or something so that, you know, I can have something to take away from this experience. And as I was literally descending the stairs to get out of there, I wrote this song in like 5 minutes. I wrote the chorus of it. It was the first part I came up with. I wrote "You break me down, but then you fix me, and then you do it like Da Vinci." And I immediately like pulled out my phone and I was like, I'm gonna record this right now. And I have so many things like that, so many like little fragments. And I'm sure most writers and any sort of artist does that, because it's important to know as well that when you see books or paintings or furry art and it's done, and this goes probably without saying, but you need to emphasize that this works for music too, is that it doesn't just happen like right away. You don't just end up with a finished, perfect piece. You know, these are lengthy, lengthy bits of time and work and effort all put into one cohesive package. And we might think that it comes about that way, but it really doesn't. You know, you don't see the piles of sketches and sketchbooks that artists have to go through. You don't see necessarily all of the awful short films that a filmmaker might make before they hit it big. And you're likely not going to hear all the little demos I made in middle school and high school, unless something goes terribly wrong and I hit the upload onto the wrong drive or something. You never know. But yeah, everyone's got all that like stuff, and it just makes you better to experiment. You don't need to share every experiment, but it just makes you better to share that stuff. I listen to my old recordings all the time because I still think that there's like an innocence to it where it's It's so fascinating, the ideas that you come up with before you're given more knowledge and more experience. That's something you'll never get back. So it's really handy to write as much of it down as you can. Now, for when it comes to lyric writing itself, often my biggest personal exercise that I do when I'm writing is, and it might seem like a joke, but I always recommend that people just do like freestyle. And that kind of has like a funny connotation or a funny visual for it, like freestyle, like a rap or something. But really, it's sort of like the best thing I can think of. And it's what I do a lot of the time. It's just almost like a word association. You just start talking out loud, or not super loud, but to yourself. I find it easier talking than it is to write it out. And you just start kind of rambling to yourself, and you're like looking for words that match up phonetically and that sound nice together. And you're just piecing it together. You can write stuff down along the way that seems to click. And then you'll start to have the foundation of an idea. If you're looking for this sort of like punchy lyric structure where it's like hit after hit after hit after hit and the lyrics flow really nicely, it helps to understand the cadence of the voice, and it helps to understand the way that you say words, and piecing that all together by saying it out loud. To write a song and never say the lyrics out loud is practically impossible. It can be done, but I think the product would be less so for having never said the words out loud at any point in the process. Just 2 days ago, I was writing for my brother because he wanted me to finish up this song that I've come up with. I've come up with a concept for a song and a hook, and now I'm like writing the rest of it around it. And he just was like, "Hey, can you write it like now?" And I was like, that's not how this usually works, but I guess I can see what I can do. So I just like sat on his bed while he was playing guitar, and I just started writing some stuff down, and I wrote a good stanza that I actually like quite a bit. And it follows a lot of what I'm saying right now with this like punchy lyrics, because this song is meant to be more of a rock song, more of like a 90s or early 90s sort of rock song. So I'm just going to read it out. And I think you can probably tell, even from the cadence, as I'm not singing it, but the way that it's said, there's like the hit is on the beats, the specific words that you use synonyms for things if it means that the overall thing will be more effective. You can stretch the meanings of words sometimes. Don't pull a jewel. If people know what that is, don't horribly get the words wrong and then get mad when you get called out on it. So this is what I wrote just like 2 nights ago. Fantasies you do indulge, getting high from time to time, but the paperbacks all neatly stacked as you walk through the checkout line. And I'm insanely proud of that. And I have lots of little fragments of things all over my phone and my like notes app, just everywhere. And it's super, super useful to just literally write everything down that you come up with, because you're going to be browsing this thing one day and you're going to get hit with an idea. Surely, like, I don't know if it's as common for other pieces of art, because usually you just kind of will like sketch something and then you'll be kind of done with it. You might revisit it, sure, but I don't think it's just as common with, it might be more common with like poem writers and stuff like this. And I do actively find that poems can be a great way to start when it comes to writing music. It's a great way to figure out the lengths of sentences, stanza lengths, and all the beats and internal rhymes and all this stuff. There's lots of clever things you can learn from it. I have no formal like post-secondary school education in terms of like writing or anything like that, which many of you may have. I do not. But when I was in high school, I was frequently the top of the class. I scored one of the highest scores in the English final that we did. And I even had like a teacher sit me down because they were like, "Hey, so you kind of just did the best in the province here in Canada for your essay." And I was like, "Oh, very cool. Haha." Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm like trying to impose all of this past stuff onto you, because there's so much that goes into writing a song, and there's almost a beauty in not having this sort of history when writing a song too. Some of my favorite songs, or one of my favorite songs of all time, was written by a guy who had never written a song before. He was like, the story is quite interesting because he went to a studio to see his ex-girlfriend, I think it was, and she was with some new guy. And he's like, hey, so what do you do? And he's like, I write music. And he's like, oh yeah, show me something. And he's like, I don't have anything yet. Let me go write something. And he wrote this song, and it became a huge hit in the 60s. And that is so special. That's such a lightning in a bottle. I think everyone's got at least one good song in them, and it's certainly good lyrics in them too. That's what this is about. If anyone has questions or would like me to address specific things, I absolutely welcome comments in the chat. It is a little quiet, but there's 33 people here, and I am talkative, so I can get through a lot in a short period of time because it's not even been 20 minutes yet. I will see if I can touch on something else here. Would that include making one's prose more lyrical? Music versus poetry. It depends on the kind of music. I don't want to sound like a bit of a boomer, but the music of today, or at least in the mainstream sense, I do find to be simpler than of old. Specifically, I think the best music lyrically was from the 70s to the 90s, I think is fair to say. Music got more commercialized, and the process got more refined. Obviously, you'll find cases and anomalies in every decade for everything, but I find that for inspiration and just to marvel at the lyrics that some of these people come up with, I love listening to older music. And that might be a case of my upbringing as well, where my dad was a DJ. And so he would play weddings and everything from like weddings to school dances to parties at the Croatian Cultural Center. So I got to hear all this music growing up from every decade, every artist, reasonably every culture in a way. And I just have pieced this all together over time. And that's why you'll hear sometimes really interesting, almost, I don't want to say like foreign, but just stuff that is unfamiliar to the charts of North America. I think our music scene would be a lot more different if there were more experiments with those sort of sounds, whether it be like Native American sounds or sounds just from Europe or the Middle East, which I love, and I love to play with stuff like that. I even have a balaban that my friend just sent me, which is the native instrument from Armenia. And I was playing around with that, but I've never played a reed instrument. So way harder than a piano. I'm not good at it, but okay, let's see what's going on in the chat here. I really enjoyed the music between panels, so I'm definitely going to check out your albums. Albums is a little generous. I appreciate it, though. I have one out, and that's the one I was holding here. That's Double Take. I worked on this for the entire month of January for 2020 because a little personal time asterisk. On December 31st, 2019, I got into a car accident. And so I was kind of like, okay, you know what? 2020, let's go. Gonna spend all the money, make the album. We're gonna go to 10 cons this year. We're gonna tour. We're gonna go for it. Let's go. And so I worked my butt off to get the album done in January, just as the virus was creeping its way across Asia. And then in TFF at the end of February, I released the album, and we were all still joking about, how this thing's never gonna come here. And then the week after, I'm in Vancouver, my home con, and it's getting closer and closer. And then the next weekend, the world shut down. And so, yeah, I've been stuck at home with a bunch of CDs, but I will be back and better than ever. I've been writing a lot of music while I've been in quarantine, but it's been harder to sing because I've had a lot of vocal issues during quarantine. My voice has been especially weak. You probably can't hear it because you're not used to how I normally sound, but I can feel it. It's harder for me to sing right now. It's harder for me to talk for extended periods, but I'm doing my best, and I'm going to be seeing a throat specialist at the end of October. So wish me luck, and hopefully it's nothing too serious. Let's see. Yep, let us know your Bandcamp and where we can get your music. Okay. Yeah, literally, you can even Google my name. It all comes up. Cassidy Civet, like on the CD. I have Bandcamp. You can get the CD there. You can just get the files there, too. It's on pretty much everything except for There's like one American streaming service that's just really snobby with what they let on. So my stuff's not on there. I don't remember what it is, but it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, it's on iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, whatever. It's on everything. It's on just about everything. How do you figure out a good rhyme scheme for your music? Good question. Good question. I think that it depends as well as on the kind of song that you're writing. A lot of people that make the transition from something like poetry to music tend to go in this sort of singer-songwriter vein where they go more acoustic. You know, they're not writing pop song, Katy Perry bangers like that necessarily. They tend to, you know, pick up the acoustic guitar and strum their words to chords that they find comfortable, whatever suits their vocal range. You'll hear a lot of this in stuff like Suzanne Vega or Jewel, or I had another example, but I don't recall. Oh yeah, or Janice Ian from the 70s. So when it comes to rhyme schemes, it depends on the genre, I'd say, is a big part, because if you're writing something more personal, you might not want as flat a rhyme scheme as just like words that yeah, there's, you know what a complex rhyme scheme is. It's more interesting than rhyming like bad with sad, is what I'm trying to get at, where you might hear that in like a more mainstream pop song in a Gap commercial. You would probably want something deeper if you were writing something more personal. Nothing wrong with an easy rhyme cop out, certainly, but it depends on the style of music for sure. I'd say you're far less likely to hear something like that in a singer-songwriter type song than you would in a standard like pop song. But again, saying the words that you're writing out loud really helps, because you will notice things in the way that you write. You'll notice the way that you pronounce words. You can use that to your advantage. And it might not make sense to other people how you rhyme words, but it'll make sense to you. You can make it work. That's part of the beauty of this, of speech and pronunciation and singing, is that you can make some of these words work. Certainly don't like force certain things. Like, don't try to force to rhyme microphone with laptop or whatever. like there's still some structure to be followed, and maybe you might get called out if you force it too hard, but go with whatever feels good tends to be my motto for it. And also explore synonyms, you know, nothing wrong with that. Do you have tips for memorizing music for performances? I'm used to having sheet music in front of me. Oop, I need to scroll up to see that. But performing in front of others without any sheet music is much tougher for me. I'd say practice like hell. I don't know what the circumstance would be where you don't have sheet music in front of you. Even cruise ship musicians are allowed to have music in front of them. So I don't know what the standard is for that. And if you're going to like burst into an impromptu song in front of some people, I imagine you would probably have a song you're comfortable with, a go-to song, you know? So when it comes to memorizing music, it's just like doing it over and over again and connecting with it. Like, I was playing a song on piano the other day, trying to learn the way to play it. And I was playing it with my eyes closed too, because I really wanted to get a grasp of it, because I also want to play it in fursuit. So you can't see hands down here when you're in fursuit. So I was deliberately playing it with my eyes closed as sort of preparation for that. So it is really just practice, and trusting yourself, because you will likely have to trust yourself. You're going to have a moment when you're playing it and you're like, I don't remember what I'm doing here. And you just have to trust yourself. Good luck. Thank you. Can you hold the CD on camera for it a bit longer? Yeah. The CD art was designed in part by me. I took the reference photos. They're all from a local furry house to me here in Vancouver. So the front is the front stoop of the house, and then the back is the interior, the spiral staircase. I am the light's shiny on it. It's a little annoying. I'm trying. Yeah, I didn't design the colors of it. I approved of them, but I took the photos. I framed them the way I wanted it. I took the shots, and it's me that's like sitting where Cassidy is sitting, because I had a specific vision in mind for that. And that's why I named the album Double Take as well, because the vision in the art is my vision for the song. If I put it to video one day, that's something like I would like to do. Good luck on your appointment. Thank you. I had a similar experience going to TFF. Then, furthermore, and after that, going home to the pandemic being a major thing. Yep. It is. It was a real shock, like plans just fizzling out like that. But I'm sure we've talked about it. And I don't know if anyone really wants to hear more about how awful the pandemic is. Wouldn't you much rather hear my accent that doesn't make much sense for me to come from the west coast of Canada and it sounds more like I'm from like Wisconsin or something? Like, wouldn't you rather like talk about that than the pandemic? No? Okay. But yeah, the attitude at TFF was so different, just a weekend apart. We're like literally just making jokes just all over. They weren't like racist jokes. They were just sort of like, oh yeah, we'll never get sick. Oh yeah, we're like in, like, oh, they're going to take care of it. It wasn't as vile as it is now, because I think a lot of the vileness now is because it's like this resentment and like a hatred built up towards that wrongly so, the country of origin, wrongly aimed at them. But then it wasn't as personal. So there wasn't any of that. It was much more just like, the sense of invulnerability. Thank you, Gotacular, for linking my distro kit. Yeah, so from there you'll find the links to the Bandcamp and the Spotify and all that stuff. Bad and sad is out. Brad and Chad are in. Yeah, hey, go for it. Bad Brad and sad Chad. I'd ship it. Okay, so no bad sad. But what about polygamy and Antigone? I don't know if I'm pronouncing the second word correctly, but certainly experiment. Like, oh my, please do. Folk music playing, you often don't have sheet music. Yeah, it's way more feel. There's like an expression, and I don't know if it'll make anybody mad to say folk music is probably a cousin of country music, because I'd say a lot of the time it's the same stereotype for country music is for folk music, where it's just like all you need are like three chords and an emotion, or whatever the expression is. And it's true. You don't need to focus on writing a pop hit. And if you are, like, there's lessons for that. And there's like chord structures you have to follow and lyrical beats you have to hit. Where's the rapping third verse? But, you don't need to do that. You write whatever you want to write. I have not yet written like a standard pop song, at least not that I feel. Everything I've written has been personal in some way, and I'm relatively proud of that. She spent a lot of time learning tunes. Yeah, not Wisconsin, but near. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. My voice, I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to have like come from Vancouver in a way. Maybe it is a Canadian accent. Maybe it's sort of like a weird hybrid thing from all the movies I've watched. But I'm also good at accents separately from that. Like, I was blowing up on Twitter a couple weeks ago because I was doing the JFK voice from Clone High, because I can really nail his inflections, because I'm really good at accents. Anyway, cousin is sort of good descriptor, common ancestor, I think. Yep, absolutely. I think that it's so stripped back. There's a lot of honesty to both folk music, singer-songwriter music, and country. Like, not this modern country, which, again, I don't want to rag on modern music, but like the bro country stuff where it's just like beers and girls and trucks and whatever, that stuff is not what I'm talking about when I'm saying country. I'm saying like traditional country. Not that there aren't some good songs that are bro country, but whatever. That's controversial. And a lot of country I like is basically just a different flavor of folk. Yeah. Okay. So I might do this. I'm thinking about giving songs as like just examples of good songwriting that I really like, that maybe you guys will take something from, and maybe share my screen to take a look. So if that's something that interests you guys, be sure to say it in the chat, and I'll give you some really cool songs to lyrically check out, a couple from a couple different decades, and if you want, I can do that. You actually sound like my friend Percy, which isn't a surprise, as he's also from Vancouver. Hey. I watch a YouTuber from Vancouver, and he talks with the whole like about inflections, and I'm like, I don't talk like that. I say about. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm like very chameleon like with my accent. I don't know. There's not like a world of difference between Jason Isbell, yep, I know him, and David Mallet, or Stan Rogers, or Gordon Lightfoot. Yeah, I would agree. I'm a fan of Gordon because he's Canadian, right? So we hear a lot of him up here. Very easy choice for me to say. I really like If You Could Read My Mind is my favorite of his. And Jason Isbell, I think I like 24 Frames a lot. So I think you've seen enough of perhaps my my quarantine face. And my, like, I literally saw someone yesterday out on the street, or just like passing by on a walk, that I hadn't seen for a long time. And the first thing they commented on was, they're like, "Oh, you put on weight." And I'm like, okay. So they didn't mean it, because they'd also put on weight. So they were kind of self-referential. But yeah, I got to see him live. Oh, very lucky. I haven't seen very many musicians live. I've seen Madonna live, which was awesome, except she was like an hour late. And I saw Jack White live and Shawn Mendes. Those are the three, I think. So yeah, I'm going to share some song lyrics. No one has said in the chat if there's a song of mine that you would like me to dissect. Be sure to let me know if there's a song that you heard today that you would like to hear some backstory on, because I will happily give it, because I like to talk about myself sometimes. And I'm very proud of the music I put out. So yeah, I don't mind explaining the backstory on it. Probably the first person to drop a song title is going to have their wish, because why not? I'm going to pull up also on here on my phone. I have a section called, on my notes app, I have cool song words, which is literally just a list of words or just nebulous concepts that I would love to capture in a song. Just words and stuff that catch my eye. You know, I think that's really helpful. Like, sometimes there's just, I don't know. I think it's a thing for writers. It must be, where you just see a word and it just captures you. So you want to know, like, not just more about the word, but you want to know all the ways to use this word. You want to create a story that centers around this word. You want to, like, just enshrine it. I don't know, but I have like a list of words that are just cool, or even like expressions, you know, like my favorite one that I've been actively working on writing a song for is mano a mano, which is not a word, but more of an expression. But oh my God, does that not sound like it could be the title of like one of the, like, Eye of the Tiger level, like 80s rock banger, like motivational workout song kind of things? Mano a mano, like, yes, please. I love using stuff like that, where it's like this thing that you obviously know, and most people would know, but there's no clear association with it, which is why I don't like to write words like "I love you" or just very vanilla, sort of done a billion times before stuff. I like to really pick specific emotions and hone in on that as much as I can. Like, how many of you can name a song called "The Girl Who Invented Love"? You know? Wow, people really want that one, eh? That one stands out the most for me, and I've listened a handful of times. In terms of lyric building, sometimes there's lyrics that sound great in a song, but look ridiculous on a page. Any advice on not getting bogged down by the written side of things? Lyrics that sound great and look ridiculous on a page, I'd say screw the page. Music, if you're writing lyrics and it's music, then it's an auditory thing. Like, you can write anything down and it'll look stupid, you know? You can describe a Van Gogh piece of art and, like, just write it down, you know? You're never going to capture it with words, like, written down, and without the feeling, without the inflection, without whatever surrounding it to lift it to the height that it is. If it's in a song, there's more to it than just the words, you know? There's a lot more than just the colors on a canvas. There's the entire piece around it. So to just, if it looks bad on a page, like, that doesn't matter. Like, I don't think it matters. Like, music, and maybe it might be because, and I can't speak for you, but it could be because you're speaking maybe as more of like an author's, like of books or short stories or poems. And so that's how you're used to seeing things. And it's hard to maybe picture it in another medium, which is fair. But if you're working to write a song, then don't be afraid of how it sounds, because that's the goal, you know? It's the goal in how it sounds. How it's written doesn't make a lot of sense, you know? That's my 2 cents on that. Man to Man by Dorian Electra. I have not listened to much Dorian Electra. I think I heard one song a couple months ago. But yeah, Dorian's kind of escaped me. I think they're like hyper pop, right? When it comes to my chart or my music, modern music stuff, I tend to look at the Billboard charts, which might be not great because, it's like it's the most mainstream of mainstream. But I also look at a lot of album reviews from YouTube channels and stuff, and I explore music through that. But I do sometimes operate more on the mainstream side of music, but I have lots of underground stuff that I like a lot too. I think Dorian would have to be considered underground because he's like, or they're like, I'm not sure. Yeah, they don't have any like charting hits, if you know what I mean. Not that you need to. Certainly, there's been artists that have never had a charting hit, and they're some of the biggest in the world. But I don't know. There's so many artists nowadays to find. It's hard to find everyone, Certainly wouldn't find me if you only looked at the charts. Mercy, Fulcate just bought your album. Hey, thank you. Where did you get it? I'm curious. Like Bandcamp? I don't know. I have to ask. Oh, okay. I just got the email now. Bandcamp. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Okay, so The Girl Who Invented Love. Shall I pull up lyrics on my computer? Or shall I just explain? I have it actually on here on my phone, the original lyrics that I wrote. The Girl Who Invented Love. So this one started out as an idea lifted from a title. There was an Italian actress who had passed away, and I found myself on her Wikipedia page for some reason shortly after she passed away. And I was like looking at the list of films that she'd been in, and she was in a movie called The Woman Who Invented Love from, I think it was the 60s or the 70s. And I was enamored with that title. I was just so like, what does this mean? And it might sound bad, but I've still not seen the movie, even though I've released an album with a title inspired by this title I saw in passing. But I took the title, The Woman Who Invented Love, and I switched it to girl because, again, phonetically and lyrically, The Woman Who Invented Love is a lot harder to get into music. And there's a reason that you hear the word girl maybe more than you hear the word woman in music, as good or bad as that may be. Girl just flows a lot easier and rhymes a lot better. Woman is good, but it's hard, You don't hear man a lot either. You kind of usually hear like boy or guy. So that was where it started. It started with the title, The Girl Who Invented Love. And I thought to myself, I wanted to do a Bond song. That was the intent of it. I was just playing around on my iPad where I compose most of my music. And I started playing around with this melody. I think the first line I wrote was, again, the first line of the song. The let me tell you something, a little tale of loving. And that was the first part I wrote. I remember writing this on my iPad when I was in high school, which is when I wrote it. I have the dates on here, actually. Written January 6, 2016, 7:48 p.m. So there you go. I actually document that. I think I wrote the bulk of it at the same time. Sometimes I write something and I come back to it weeks later or days later. But I think this one I actually wrote largely in one sitting, if I recall correctly. So I hope it doesn't like rob any of the magic of it to say it wasn't really specifically written about anybody. It was written as if I was the singer in a Bond film. So not the bad guy, not the hero, not the femme fatale, but written as if I was the person belting out a song over the opening gunshot credits of a Bond film. And that was the vibe I wanted to capture. And I don't know if I captured it. I feel like I did, but it's that's the subjectivity of music, right? So a lot of it, I did want to pay lip service to sort of the Bond aesthetic. And again, to go and show just how much reference or just cultural knowledge of a property can go. I have not seen a single James Bond movie. My entire James Bond knowledge comes from like nerd osmosis or from the songs, because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with the songs. I didn't grow up with any of the movies. I guess I've seen Austin Powers for whatever that's worth. So I built it almost entirely off of my understanding of Bond songs and stereotypes associated with the Bond films. So I sort of went with, so it starts from the perspective of the Bond character type, where it's like with blue eyes like a sweet serenade, stunning you like a flashbang grenade, sort of creating this backstory on this femme fatale who is this character. To say it was just a fling doesn't stop how I'm feeling, because I know that he has a tendency to be a bit of a woman's man. So what if there was a woman who is so enamoring, much like the title of the song, that he's willing to give up the life as a spy, to settle down, because it's a Bond film with a girl. So of course they get together at least once. I mean, that's just a stereotype that I've picked up on, but I don't know if it's true. The pre-chorus, to even suggest a rate at which my love will escalate. This is one that I had a different lyric for a long time, which was just really dumb. It used to be, to even suggest a rate at which my love will escalate is crazy beyond explain. Like, I just had beyond explain, like not even beyond explaining. I made it fit the meter, but then I changed it in the studio because I was like, this is stupid. So I was like, it's crazy. I can't explain. But here I am trying to try again. So yeah, we may be forcing the again to rhyme, but I don't think so. People say again like that. It's fine, and you can sing it however you want. He got married once on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Hey, I'm sure that someone here will know more about Bond than I do, because I really don't know anything. Second verse. Beating heart like the sunseat gets me excited. Sometimes I need. When I wrote this one, I was specifically, I don't know if this is a scene from like a Bond film or something, maybe etched into my brain somewhere in my mind palace, but I was picturing very much like the retiring-ish Bond on a beach, kind of like vacation or whatever, maybe undercover. And like he's trying to get away from it all, but then the next line, a little relaxation, just me, myself, and I, but you keep unlocking doors and getting back in my life. Like she's back again. Like you thought that you'd gotten away, so to speak, but no, she's found you again. And whether it's in a literal sense or in a figurative sense, whether she's just worked her way back into his mind in his moment of peace, or if she's literally standing over him while he's like tanning on the beach, it's this sort of vagueness that I like a lot. And that's the story in my head anyway. There's lots of like posts on Twitter or whatever about how neurodivergent people will like construct music videos or not music videos, but like animations in their mind. But I want to be the person to actually put these things down. I want to be the one to actually make them. And that's what I'm doing for one of my other songs, Let Your Heart Take Flight, for which I'm directing a music video for right now, which is hand animated. And I would like to share more about it, but like it's such a slow process. I storyboarded some of it. I've been working with Animator a lot. But it's been a great process, and I really have more. I have more music video ideas. I had a video idea for my song The Hike, which is not out yet. And I was talking to an animator about it before, but they sort of disappeared off the face of the earth, which was weird. And I have another video for my song Ships, which I would like to release soon. But I'm trying to find an animator for that as well. But I've started storyboarding it. I've storyboarded about half the song myself, as I usually do, because I have the shots in my head. I have the exact scenes and the beats that I want. I know what I want scenes to cut. I've got it all in here, and I don't want to be a one-person show and do everything, because that stuff can take forever. Case in point would be, I guess, like a Fox in Space, the animated show on YouTube, because it's good, but it takes so long because it's just so independent. And I have no problem with delegating and just like working with people, but it's largely my vision, which is why I'm the director, I guess, producer, whatever that is. And I also generally self-fund the whole thing. But for some of these larger music videos, I guess I will have to do a Kickstarter or something, maybe. Who knows? Oh, very cool. A bot in the chat with a spam link. Very nice. Now you know you've hit it big. Furry Writers Guild. You've got a spam bot. Very cool. And that's essentially it for The Girl Who Invented Love, right? Because it opens on the chorus. I read the two verses, got the pre-chorus, and then the second verse, and the chorus just goes out. The sort of old-time feel of it, the crackling and the static record sound, a lot of that was from my dad / producer who came up with that sort of idea for it. He like basically worked one solid day in the studio just adjusting the intro and the outro. Whereas in my version, on my iPad when I composed it, it was just an instant like bam, like there was no lead in, it just like hit right away. And also, I guess worth mentioning, all the instruments on The Girl Who Invented Love, every single one, from the drums to the oboes, they're all on my iPad. I played the whole thing on the iPad. So yeah, so that's that. I don't know if that's impressive to anybody, but that is the truth. I could pull up the song file even if I really wanted to. I've decided I really wanted to. Background is Bluey. Me and Bluey. Ta-da, that's my studio. I find it generally helpful to sit in front of a piano and play. Like, I'm not the best piano player in the world. Anyone who saw my Confidor concert last weekend can attest to that. But I'm okay, and I enjoy writing stuff at the piano. So that is the truth. Okay, let's see. The Girl. Yeah, The Girl Who Invented Love. So you can see even there the date, 2016. That is June 19th. June 19th is the last time I modified it. Like, that's the last time I touched it. That's been the same for 4 years. So yeah, there's the song file, all the instruments and stuff. I play them all myself, just tapping on the screen. God, I look so... I don't look good on the webcam. I'm very self-conscious. And I write about that a lot in my music. Hooray. If I ever get my voice to a good enough condition where I can sing again, where it doesn't hurt, I have another EP I'm planning on releasing called Cruel Oasis. There's some info about it online if you're an internet sleuth, and you can find it. I've put little secrets all over the internet about it with track list information and all this stuff. So it'll be an EP. It won't be an album because I already spent the money on an album this year. I don't need to do another one. 2 albums in 1 year. Am I crazy? Am I the Beatles? No. I mean, I have the material for it. I don't have the cash for it. So yeah. Ta-da. So yes, all the songs from the EP are on my Patreon as well. For people who want to go that extra mile and see all the stuff I'm working on, all the contest entries I'm putting together for music, or the animated music videos. But you look great, thank you. I think my hair looks good, but like I don't know. I'm very like self-conscious about it. All right, so I'm gonna see if this works here, mayhaps, and I will share some songs that perhaps I think you guys will like in the final 10 minutes of this, and hopefully it hasn't been too vain of a panel of talking about myself. But the goal was to share my personal truths on how I write music and just how I feel about certain things. You don't need to feel the same way I feel. There's nothing forcing you to feel like that. You can disagree with me. It's all good. I'd say I don't care. This may be a little bit more dismissive than I'd like, but really it's everyone's personal experience, and that's what's important, you know? And what's important is that I am doing a songwriting panel. Yay. You asked for Pepper Coyote and you got me, so that's what you get. So let's see if I can do this screen share business. Okay, is that working? I don't know if that's working. Or it's probably just sharing. I was going to share myself because I'm just waiting to see if it's working. Okay, are you seeing the screen? I have no way to tell. Let me see if I can find it. Because if I look at the chat, it's going to go right back to my face. Not yet. Ah, oh, dang. Oh my goodness. I don't know what I'm doing. I am failing epically. Okay, I stopped that. So instead, I'm going to just, I guess, read some lyrics and recommend some songs if you guys want some examples of stuff that I think is quite good. And just stuff, oh, was not successful. Damn. Oh, well. I'll just read it out then and share some stuff that I think you might like. So I've been particularly big on 70s and sort of singer-songwriter stuff as I've been going on about. Going to a modern sort of a country song that I really, really like is a song called Ghost in Every Town by Emily Scott Robinson. I think it came out last year, February of last year. And this song is very, very beautiful. It's very simple. It's just a girl singing with a guitar. And it's one of the most haunting songs I think I've heard in the last few years. It like really hits me in a way that I can't totally explain without you having hearing the song. I'll just read out the lyrics in sort of a poetry style. The kind of country store where you can only pay in cash for a Powerball and a gallon worth of gas. The kind of day that you wash down with a second beer. It's the kind of bar where you go to disappear. The kind of pills that get you through a shift. Numb the back pain when there's heavy loads to lift. The kind of frozen food that passes for a meal. The kind of desperate that forces you to kneel. Come on. You can't tell me that ain't some beautiful, beautiful stuff. I'll keep, the chorus. Every day it's just like the one before. That's your body breaking down. They make a year that's like the one before. You're still a ghost in every town. And then the second verse, it's a short song, but it's so impactful for me. The kind of trailer park where people come and go, but you pay on time and keep the curtains closed. The kind of Christmas that brought a 3-day storm, and you burned up all the propane staying warm. That kind of winter days, that's dark by 4 o'clock. You got to brace yourself just to take a walk. The kind of gold, wow, I'm stuttering and not doing good. The kind of cold that gets inside your bones. The kind of howling you can only do alone. Oh, my soul hurts. And I also understand that there's a lot of LGBT rep here, just like me, in this event. So I will share a song with a lot of trans allegories as well. That's very good and not enough people know. So Rise Like a Phoenix by Conchita Wurst from Austria from 2014 is a great song as well. And I'm going to read some of that here. Waking in the rubble, walking over glass. Neighbors say we're trouble while that time has passed. Peering from the mirror, no, that isn't me. Stranger getting nearer, who can this person be? You wouldn't know me at all today. From the fading light I fly, rise like a phoenix, out of the ashes, seeking rather than vengeance, retribution. You were warned. Once I'm transformed, once I'm reborn, you know I will rise like a phoenix, but you're my flame. Go about your business. Act as if you're free. No one could have witnessed what you did to me. 'Cause you wouldn't know me today. And you have got to see, to believe. From the fading light I fly, rise like a phoenix, out of the ashes, seeking rather than vengeance, retribution. You were warned. Once I'm transformed, once I'm reborn. And that's essentially it. The bridge sort of repeats similar motifs, but the lyrics in that one, if you want, it's a really good example of those like huge words, big syllable words worked seamlessly into it, like vengeance and retribution. Like, oh my God, those would stand out like a sore thumb in like a Katy Perry song, but they flow so beautifully in this song. Rise Like a Phoenix, Conchita Wurst. Highly recommend. And another one, sort of a socially conscious song from Canada. Hooray. Yes, 5-minute warning. I'm aware. I'm touching on just some song recs and then I will be done. The next one is Let It Go by Luba, L-U-B-A, which is a Canadian song. It was a big hit here in the 80s, a decade I was definitely not alive for. But oh my goodness, I would love to cover this. If I do an album of covers, this is on there for sure. The socially conscious lyrics are amazing. Even if a little shallow, but I like what they touch on. So I'm going to read that out quickly. Here you go. Definitely experience these songs, actually sung by the singer. Please, for the love of God, don't just listen to me recite these lyrics. So here it is. Too many doubts. Oh my God, I'm already messing up lyrics. Too many doubts, too much fear, too much danger. When society constructs our human nature, Live by the rules, live by the laws, live by commandments. Notions preconceived can lead to utter madness. Does that not sound like a lyric you want to hear sung? Notions preconceived can lead to utter madness? Oh my God. Skipping past the chorus, which is kind of just like a let it go, let it free your body, let it move your soul. Let go, oh no, we are made, we are not born. Do 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 do. Learn to convert, learn to assert, learn to abandon ideologies and disciplines at random. Lay down my laws, lay down the rules, lay down commandments. Lift the sanctions that restrict this woman's madness. Skipping past the next chorus. Uniformity, conventionality is the bane of our existence. Keep it safely at a distance. Nonconformity, unconventionality is too good to be. Let your hair down, can't you see? It's so good. 10 out of 10 for the songwriting in that. Very, very good. Highly recommend. Let It Go by Luba. 5-minute warning. That was 2 minutes. Let's see if I can power through another one. I've been listening right now. I'd say it's probably the number one song I've been listening to the most of any music right now. Is a song from 1975 called At 17 by Janis Ian. And I'm going to recite some of those lyrics right now. Very, very personal singer-songwriter song. Also folky. I learned the truth at 17, that love was meant for beauty queens and high school girls with clear-skinned smiles who married young and then retired. The Valentines I never knew, the Friday night charades of youth, were spent on one more beautiful. At 17, I learned the truth. And those of us with ravaged faces, lacking in the social graces, desperately remained at home, inventing lovers on the phone, who called to say, come dance with me, and murmured vague obscenities. And it isn't all it seems at 17. A brown-eyed girl in hand-me-downs, whose name I never could pronounce, said, pity please, the ones who serve, they only get what they deserve. And the rich relationed hometown queen marries into what she needs, with a guarantee of company and haven for the elderly. Remember those who win the game, lose the love they sought to gain, in debentures of quality and dubious integrity. Their small-town eyes will gape at you, in dull surprise when payment due exceeds amount accounts received at 17. To those of us who knew the pain of Valentines that never came, and those whose names were never called when choosing sides for basketball, it was long ago and far away. The world was younger than today, when dreams were all they gave for free to ugly duckling girls like me. We all play the game, and when we dare to cheat ourselves at solitaire, inventing lovers on the phone, repenting other lives unknown, they call and say, come dance with me, and murmur vague obscenities at ugly girls like me at 17. So those are my song recommendations. Ghost in Every Town by Emily Scott Robinson, Rise Like a Phoenix, Conchita Wurst, At 17 by Janis Ian, and Let It Go by Luba. All sort of different decades, but very, very strong cases for songwriting in all of them. Genre-wise, Rise Like a Phoenix is the poppiest song of the bunch. Yeah. I can go on and on with song recommendations, like I said. My dad's a DJ. I grew up with decades and decades and countries worth of music. I have like over 10,000 songs on my iPod alone, and I could probably sing the words to every single one of them. And I'm still purchasing and finding new music. I do purchase my music. I don't use streaming services. No shame to anyone who does. It's just, when I'm listening to obscure music from Denmark that is not available here for some reason at all, I need to get it through other means than a streaming service. So yeah, my music catalog is independent of streaming. So I guess I'll wrap it up because my voice is very tired. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Yeah, some stuff you got to get someone to import a CD for you. I actually did that before with a singer I quite like from Denmark. I bought her CD from Norway. She passed away in 2008, and her music was not online anywhere. So I was just like, oh, screw it. I'll just buy the actual CD and put it on my computer. And I did. And it was very cool. It was like my first package from Norway. I bought it when I was in high school. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out here. Can't get KIZ Berliner rap group in the US. Yeah, see, exactly. It's weird. I don't like any of this sort of region blocking stuff. And if I'm ever anybody famous or of note, I will fight adamantly against it. Loved this panel. Thank you. Yeah. I feel like I get personal. Like I've been criticized at my home con sometimes for making my things like they're like, oh, you didn't have a PowerPoint or whatever. And I'm just like, what I'm not here to lecture you about like with this static image of whatever, you know. I am here to talk and I can talk in front of a room of people. I work in politics. It's what I do. So I'm more than comfortable talking. And I think it's a richer experience for everyone because I get to hear from other people and you get to hear as raw as it gets for me. And I'm not struggling to go off a script, but I do have notes, but you know, not bullet points. All right. Thank you guys so much. I've been Cassidy Civet, your musical songstress civet of the Furry Writers Guild at Oxfurred, convention online here on Twitch. You know where to find me. Google me, Twitter at Cassidy the Civet, and I will see you all after COVID. Bye.